Welcome back to the Better by Next Week podcast. We've moved from the trophy room to the greenhouse, and we're very lucky to have our first ever guest in the greenhouse, Mr. Phil Gore, who, for anyone who's been living under a rock for the last 2 or 3 years or more, some things that Phil's done. He's done a 24-hour. He's a 24-hour champion in Australia. He's the backyard ultra world record holder 2 times. He's won the Australian backyard. He's been the Australian backyard ultra champion 2 times as well. And that's just a couple things to mention in a amazing career that you've had. And
we could talk about a whole episode on Phil's achievements.
Yeah, I reckon we could. I'm actually a little bit nervous just interviewing Phil because he's a pretty big star, and we actually went down to Bannockburn Parkrun today.
We got to hang out with Phil for 24 hours and went down to Bannock Parkrun.
But yeah, so welcome to the podcast, Phil. Thanks heaps for making the time to come down and hang out with us.
Thanks for having me. It's been great coming down and spending time with you guys over the weekend and doing parkrun together and just seeing life on the farm. It's great.
Yeah, well, he's definitely had a big influence on people at parkrun. Everyone was pushing today, getting PBs.
Everyone was panting. Everyone was panting. I'd never seen our parkrun panting so much.
Well, he had some energy. He was pulling me forward. I got a PB today as well.
Yeah, so I had to push myself a little bit harder than I thought I was going to have to. But yeah, only just hung on to the win for that one.
No, it was pretty impressive.
Not that it's a race.
No, it's not a race at all. But yeah, everyone's kind of pushing to their own limits.
I guess we'll go into the first question.
Yeah,
it's sort of on the topic of parkrun in a way. So we were wondering on how you feel when you turn up to a parkrun and people just know you and just based off of your records, or people that never knew you before and they're just like, oh, it's Phil, like how does that feel for you?
Yeah, well, it's a tricky question because like I used to do parkrun a lot. I was, every single week I was getting down to parkrun. But the last couple of years, kind of when my ultra running has taken over, I've kind of taken a little step back from parkrun. So I still do parkrun, but it's nowhere near as much as I used to. It's normally when I'm touristing, or I might incorporate it into a long run or something like that. So I don't actually get down to this parkrun as much anymore, like since I've kind of had that fame around me. So I think Bannockburn was probably like one of the, first times where, the page has been posting about it. And it's like, oh, we've got Phil Gore coming down, and then people are coming to the parkrun specifically. So yeah, that was a little bit cool, especially like in kind of like a remote Victorian little town. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I just see myself, I'm just another runner, just like the other parkrunners,
Yeah, today it was pretty cool. I actually got chills when Marissa from the race director today, she was actually listing all your stats and saying, he's run 119 hours and this and that. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting chills. I'm like, oh, that's right. It's Phil. He's right next
to
our
mate.
He's our mate. Like it was incredible to see that. And I guess, you started off doing parkruns.
Yeah.
And a lot of our listeners are probably just like you, started out, with a park run or anything like that. When you started, did you think that it would come to this? Like, did you think you were going to become a world champion when you first started?
No
was there
way.
those dreams as well, though?
No way. I never had those dreams. I never even thought I would do more than a marathon. Even the marathon, I was like, that's, that'll be something cool to do. Like, let's just do a marathon, tick it off. I can say I've done, I can say I've done that distance. And at the time, like, that sounded like a monumental achievement. Like, the marathon to me was like the pinnacle of running. Like, that's the main thing at the Olympics, like with the athletics. It's like, if you can run a marathon, you're a pretty decent runner. And I didn't, when I first started parkrun, I didn't even know there were these events that went like 100Ks, 200Ks. The backyard ultra, it was around, but it wasn't in Australia. I think it probably only had just started in the US around that time. But yeah, so I had no idea what a backyard ultra was. So when I did start learning about these other events and, I had a mate go and run a 100-mile race and, he was talking about running through the night and I'm like, when are you going to sleep? Like I couldn't compute it. And I'm like, well, it's cool that he wanted to do that. But I was like, this is something that I'm not going to do. Like, I'll do a
Famous
marathon
last
maybe.
words
Yeah,
from
famous
Phil.
words.
Yeah, but it just like I spent a lot of time on those shorter distances. Like I was really enjoying the 5K, and I did my first marathon, and I did a few more marathons. There was 10K runs and half marathons in there as well, and I was really enjoying that space. And yeah, then it wasn't until about 5 years into doing that, yeah, I got like an entry into an ultra marathon, and yeah, it just kind of escalated from there.
Me and Dad often talk about that aha moment where everything just clicks. And your first backyard ultra was in 2020 in Birdies, and
Yeah,
you DNF'd at that.
yeah.
Was that moment an aha moment for you when you DNF? Because since then you haven't lost many backyard ultras. It's
He's only-
what
yeah.
happened there?
Yeah, so I went into that without a lot of yes, I was training for it, but it wasn't really structured for a backyard. It was just running long distances, and yeah, I went into it without a lot of prep. Like I didn't even have crew until hour 10 or something, and I was just like, I'm just gonna go into this and just see how far I can go, which is what the idea of a backyard is, right?
Yeah.
And then I was kind of expecting that, yes, I could get to 24 hours, but let's just hang on and see how much further I can go after that. And yeah, kind of got into the second night, and yeah, I think it was around midnight or 1 a.m. that I stopped at 39 hours. And that was way beyond my initial expectations. But it kind of, yeah, even though I was absolutely destroyed at the end, it kind of like lit this spark inside me. It's like, well, if I can do this without, much prep and planning into it, if I focus on all those things that can make me better, like how much further can I take this?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of where it all started.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I you know, I think that there's like heaps of lessons learned, in backyards. And what's one that you reckon that you learnt from that backyard ultra that you DNF'd at that you that you still, reflect on? I've had some DNFs, and especially my first one, I learnt so much, and I never wanted to DNF again. What was the biggest lesson that you learnt from that first DNF?
So probably the two biggest takeaways, the two biggest changes I made going into my next backyard was developing a pacing plan and developing a sleep plan. So my first idea going into the backyard is just like, this is just a competition to see who can stay awake the longest, basically. Like I'm just going to keep running till I get tired and fall asleep. There was like one lap in the middle of the first night where I tried to have a nap and it just didn't work. And so I just kind of gave up on that idea and just like, no, I'll just stay awake each time. And with my pacing, I had no real structure of when I'm going to do a fast lap, when I'm going to do a slow lap. I just kind of went by feel. It's like, oh yeah, I'm feeling good, I'll do a fast lap. Or I'm feeling a bit rubbish now, I'm starting to get fatigued, I'll start to run slower. So going into the next backyard, I'm like, well, if I want to go, through the second night, I'm going to have to start sleeping in the first night. So let's develop a sleep strategy. And then with that sleep strategy, I develop my pacing strategy. So if I want to get more sleep, I'll do those laps faster. And then during the day when I'm not sleeping, those laps can be a bit slower. So yeah, that would be the two biggest takeaways.
Yeah.
That's
So,
pretty
so
big.
basically, sleep is huge for you when you take it in.
Yeah, especially like when you get to the distances that we do now, like you're not going to go 5 days without sleep. Like people think, oh, like how do you run that far without sleeping? It's like, well, I do sleep. Like I'm getting maybe 2 hours a night, 2.5 hours a night. And even though it's broken up into like 15 minutes at a time, like it all adds up. And by the time you get deeper into it, when you go to sleep, you're actually getting into that deep sleep a lot quicker. So that 10, 15-minute sleep, it can feel like you've been asleep for 2 or 3 hours.
What would you say like the borderline sleep would be for minimum that you would have in a night? So you say you have 2.5 hours per night. What would be the minimum that you would have to be able to actually continue
Are we
running?
talking? So when I say sleep, and I say 10 to 15 minutes sleep, this is the amount of time that I'm lying down and closing my eyes.
Yeah.
So in the first night, yeah, I'm lying down, closing my eyes. I might not really sleep because I'm not really too tired at that stage, but I'm still getting that rest and I'm still getting that chance to reset.
Yeah.
In terms of like a minimum of what I would get of that, so say I do my lap in about, I'm trying to do it in around 40 minutes. Depending on the course, it might be 42 minutes, 43 minutes. But let's just say I get in 40 minutes. That's 20 minutes. I'm probably looking at about 2 minutes at the start of that to quickly have something to eat, get my shoes off, get my jacket off, and get into bed. And then my crew's waking me up 3 minutes before the start of the next lap. So from that 20 minutes, I'm getting, 15 minutes in there.
All right, so Phil, at the first Sat Champs,
Yeah.
you were Phil, the Aussie champion.
Yeah.
At the second Sat Champs, you led Australia to second in the world.
Yeah.
What does Sat Champs next time look like for Phil Gore?
Oh, can we think about bigs first? Like I still, I just let
There
me
is a
focus on the
question
next
after
event.
that is about bigs,
Bigs,
but,
yeah.
but we want to know Sat
We,
Champs.
we're excited about Sat Champs.
Yeah.
I think that everyone in Australia is so intrigued by that format.
Yeah.
And there's so many people at the moment looking at getting on that team. And I'd love to know, and I want to see where the evolution of Phil Gore goes. Because, yeah, I remember I've been there both times. And, yeah, that first time it was amazing. And you were just, steadfast at being the Australian champion. The last one I seen a different side to you where it was more team oriented.
Yeah.
And I just want to know what you're going to bring third time around.
Yeah, I think the first time, like that, looking back on it, that's probably one of my hardest races and my hardest wins. And it did very much feel like it was an individual thing. Yes, we knew it was a team, and there's almost even a East Coast versus West Coast kind of vibe as well. But yeah, like it was a new experience for a lot of people there. The next one we went into, it was a lot more team focused. There was a lot more people running together and working together to get further. You look at people like Dan Kamak and any other backyard, when he reached that point, he probably would have dropped out, but because it was a team, he just had to get that next lap, and he was able to come back from that. And there were so many times, like he was circling the drain, and he still came out and did a really good result. So I think, yeah, it's just kind of that vibe there that even any other backyard you might want to pull out, but because you're doing it for the team, you just make sure you get those extra few laps. In terms of what are we going to see at the next Sat Champs? Yeah, I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot more of that team cohesiveness. Everyone who's going to be there is going to be there because they've worked hard to get there, not just have happened to be at the right race at the right time and won a silver ticket or whatever it is. And I think every year more people are finding out about this, and we're getting more people come out of the woodwork doing really good results. Like you look at Birdies a few weeks ago, and the winner in the assist, they'd come from having done 1 or 2 backyards before and doing 24 hours, and now they're running into the 50s or almost
high
60s.
50s, yeah.
So yeah, I think just the more that people are finding out about it, we're just going to have some much stronger results. It's going to be harder to get onto the at-large list, and we're just going to have a much stronger team all round.
I think that this is a really good moment to mention my story I had to tell about Phil and me and Mish, who's behind the cameras and everything, checking everything out. And this was at the first Highlight Chance, so I had no idea who you were.
Yeah.
I had no idea who any of the athletes were. And like you said, it was more of a West Coast versus East Coast mentality in a way. And I remember me and Misha looking at you, and I just didn't want to believe how good you were. We made up hypotheticals that you were going in your little caravan on an IV trip. We just had no idea what was going on, and we couldn't believe what your performance and now we do believe.
We've seen it firsthand so many times.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not even like he's just done it once. He's done it multiple times after and after.
Well, I think back to like when I first got into backyards and started, learning about, the other events around the world, and seeing like the Belgians doing I think the world record was 75 at the time. And it's like, oh God, like what's in those Belgian waffles? Like, are they taking something? Like how are they going like 3 days without sleep? Like it doesn't make sense. But now that I've been there and I've done that, and I can look back and it's like, 75 hours, like easy. Like, it all makes sense now once you've been there. But when you're, running your heart out to do 39 hours and then to imagine what it takes to get from that to 75, it seems like such a huge leap. And it's like, what are they doing different? Like, how are they doing that? Like, is there, some other factor there that I'm not looking at? But yeah, just the way that the sport's grown, like you look at 75 now, like that'll probably only just get you on the at-large list for bigs. So
yeah, I believe it's 82 or something like that was just on there for the at-large list. So obviously when you want to sleep, you're going to need to run fast in the backyard ultra. And we talked a little bit about this today. But some people get trapped in the mindset of running a 37-minute loop is fast, but realistically, it's not that fast when you're running in training. It's like 5:40. So correct me if I'm wrong. It's something around there.
Yeah.
But do you think there's a point where people are running too fast for loops? And have you found that perfect point for you? And is it different for each individuals?
Yeah,
I know there's a
definitely.
lot of questions
Yeah.
in there. Sorry, but
Yeah. Well, like the speed is relative. So when I say do a fast loop, it's fast compared to the loops that I'm doing in the day, and it's all it's all relative. You know, like a fast loop for me might be an unsustainable pace for someone else, but for me that's comfortable. Like I can run a 40-minute lap. Depending on the course, it might be a bit quicker. So yeah, like a fast loop, 40 minutes. Yeah, you're looking at, I think it's like 5:45 per K, around there.
yeah,
And when you're there and you're running it, and it feels like it's a fast lap because compared to your day laps, it is fast. But you think about what you do in training, and it's like if I was running 5:45 in training, like that would feel so slow and clunky, and it wouldn't feel like I'm exerting any energy at all. So don't like stress that I might be going too fast and I might be going to burn myself out during the race when I'm running at that pace. So yeah, it's all relative. Everyone's different. Yeah, and that's the way I do things. Like if running a 40-minute lap is too fast for you and you're going to burn yourself out, and 50 minutes is where your comfortable pace is, and a fast loop might be 48 minutes. You just do what you can with the time that you've got. Like you just got to make your plan work.
Do you find though, what are your kind of signals for you to say to yourself, next loop needs to be a slower one, or it needs to be a faster one, or anything like that? Or do you solely stick to your plan? If it says fast loop, you no matter what, you run that fast loop. Because I often find myself thinking on the fly and saying to myself, oh, I'm not feeling great. I'm going to run slow the next one. Do you ever do that?
Yeah, so I do have everything planned out, and for the most part, I do follow it very closely. Um, there are times, like you would have seen at Biggs, where I was having issues with my leg, and I was worried I wasn't doing my night laps fast enough, and I just had to kind of let that go. It's like, don't worry about your fast laps, just adjust the pace and come in a bit slower. If you're getting less sleep, it doesn't matter. So going into my second backyard ultra, and I wanted to develop a sleep plan. I was trying to sleep every single lap, and I was busting a gut to get in a certain amount of time to make sure I got that sleep. And it kind of took me a few events to realize, like, I don't need to do it every single lap. Like, if I'm trying to run every night lap fast, that's 12 laps in a row fast, I'm going to burn myself out, and that's not going to be sustainable. So then I developed a strategy where I'd do 3 fast laps, and then I'd have a slower one to allow my body to kind of recover and conserve that energy a bit more. And at the same time, when I'm coming in, I'm not stressing about trying to find that time to sleep, and I can use the time that I've got to get more nutrition in and talk to my crew a bit more and things like that. So that that strategy kind of developed over a few backyards, and that's just what's worked out to be the sweet spot for me. Like I know if I talk to Jashi, he was saying he would do 1 fast, 1 slow, and he would alternate that. So he's doing, over the course of a night, he's got 6 fast laps and 6 slow laps, and that's what works for him. So yeah, in terms of so I do like stick to that plan as much as I can, but I'm not super rigid in it. I can change it, but it can go the other way as well. Like in Dead Cow Gully, for example, on the 5th night, I was feeling really good, and when I was getting to the slow laps, I was like, I don't want to be coming in too slow. Like it was cold, I was wanting to get in quicker and get into the bed, and I'm just like, I'm just going to forget those slow laps, and I'm going to do those laps a little bit quicker and have a little bit more time to rest. So it can go both ways. You can go decide you want to go faster, or decide you want to go
I
slower.
for so long was trying to figure out Phil's sleep plan. I'm looking at nights. I'm like, is he doing 3 fast and then 1 slow? And that's what I'm eventually going to try and do at GV. But so obviously what you're encouraging here is that it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
But what would you advise for people who are looking to do a sleeping plan and want to go that extra? And because obviously they're different for different people, but what would you advise for people to do in training that might help them with a training sleep plan?
I would say focus, like there's a lot of things that I do at night before I go to bed every night that helps me get to sleep quicker. So yeah, it's not really something to do in running training, but just in everyday life. So things like I charge my phone in a different room, so I'm not distracted by any screens or anything. When I go to bed, I I lie down and I'll just basically meditate until I fall asleep, and it normally happens within like 5 minutes or so. So yeah, focus on getting to sleep at night, like having that routine, and I carry that routine over into the backyard. So, the other thing I do is I put in earplugs, and it's just like it's a little thing, but it's telling my mind it's like it's sleep time now. So every night when I go to bed, put my earplugs in. So when I do a backyard, I come in from a lap, I put my earplugs in. It's like the signal to myself, like now I'm going to sleep, and then I just lie there and I meditate. And as I said before, like sometimes I don't sleep, but I'm lying down, closing my eyes, and I'm just having that reset. So, and that's, yeah. So when you're meditating, you're getting that reset. And then as you get deeper into it, it just becomes easy to fall
Yeah, you're
asleep.
using
So,
your everyday lifestyle
yeah.
into a
Yeah.
backyard
It's just
ultra
about
because
building those habits and building those routines.
yeah.
So, what what I'd like to know, and I reckon a lot of people would like to know, is what are you going to change from bigs that you did last time to this time? I often find, for me, I learn heaps when I DNF at
Yeah.
events. For someone who DNFs so rarely and has so little failures,
Yeah.
what do you take? Obviously, that was such a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was probably your last
Yeah.
DNF. So
Yeah, so I have learned a lot from that event and kind of implemented stuff that I've done in my more recent backyards. And yeah, I think I just, especially like Dead Cow Gully, like everything in that race went really well. I'm not going to say perfect because there's always room for improvement, but it went really well. And same with Sydney, same with the Sat Champs, all had really good results and got to the end of that still feeling like I could do a lot more. So things that I have implemented since Bigs is having that issue in my leg. That was like a big focus. Like, how am I going to fix this? I don't want this to happen again. Now, Bigs is a very difficult course, and I do think that the course played a role in that. So going into Bigs this year, I'm working on a lot more of trying to simulate that terrain in my training, and also doing a lot more walking. So in all of the backyards I've done recently, walking's been a part of my training. So doing fast walking, because that tendon that flared up, that's something that happens when people walk a lot. And so as runners, we do a lot of training with running, and we think that that's going to get us through. But when you do a backyard, there's so much walking in there as well. And if you haven't trained up the right parts of the body for that, then that's going to let you down. So yeah, they're probably the biggest things that I've kind of changed going
I,
into my other backyards.
I remember at Biggs when I helped out Gemma a little bit with Joel to crew.
Yeah.
And it was only for a few hours. I remember you coming in and seeing that all strapped up, and I thought, oh my God, like this is Phil actually has chinks in his armor. But you came in and you put your headphones in and you had recordings of your hypnotherapist.
Yeah.
And I was amazed at how you just came in, you put your headphones in, and then you'd scroll through which one you needed, and you clicked on it and you closed your eyes. And then 5 minutes later, you got up and you didn't even mention anything about your leg. And I was like, this is amazing. Then you ran out that loop, you came back, and I remembered that your hypnotherapist was on the phone. And I remember you saying to him, it still hurts. Can you do something about it? And then you lay down again. You did the exact same thing. You got up, and then you didn't even mention it after that. I was just amazed. Like, what is it with the hypnotherapist that you do that? Well, for me, it looked like he just took the pain away.
I think I probably can't explain exactly how the hypnosis works. Like Nathan would explain it a lot better. For me, it's maybe like the best way to describe it is like a guided form of meditation, but with someone who knows what they're doing, knows the right words to say. And I wouldn't say it stopped hurting, but maybe I just stopped complaining about it or stopped kind of letting it affect me. It definitely hurt throughout that whole, since it started hurting. It probably helped keep it at bay and help me get a little bit further and help me push through it a bit more. But yeah, it's hard to explain.
It
how
was
works.
incredible
Yeah.
to see. Me and Joel were like looking at each other like this and
Yeah.
going, what's going on? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So what is he doing? I don't know. What do we do?
It's just
I
the
don't know.
master
Let's
at
just watch.
Yeah.
And it was just it was amazing.
It's not like it's a magic cure, but I think it just
Right.
makes it easier to deal with.
Do you think we often talk about filler words and how that the two parts of the brain are working at the same time, and one shuts off and one is working, it might maybe I'm not no hypnotherapist. Like I don't quote me on this, but it could be that brain shuts off the signal for pain or
Is
whatever.
it? Do you think it
Like,
could be something to like talking to your subconscious? I suppose.
Yeah, well, that's the idea of hypnosis. It's like kind of tapping into that subconscious level. So even like when I'm having it done, it's like I still have a lot of thoughts going on in my head, and then I'm like thinking, oh, hang on, am I meant to be listening to what he's saying? But apparently none of that matters. Like, because my subconscious is listening, I don't need to be physically like, yeah, trying to pay attention to it. It's hard to explain how it works, and I don't quite understand it myself, but
Yeah.
it
it
definitely
works. If it
definitely
works, it
helps.
works. It could
So,
even be placebo, and if it works, it
Yeah.
works.
Well, I kind of wanted to ask you about DNFs
yeah.
and the fact that obviously at Biggs it was an injury DNF, but for like, what is it? Like, do you ever feel ripped off? Essentially, that's what I want to ask.
Uh, Not that I didn't get to DNF, but sometimes there's been like times I thought like I knew I could go further, and it would have been nice if the assist had gone a little bit further. So, I mean, one example is so Hurdies, when I did that the second year, the Australian record was 51, which was my own record anyway, and then the assist dropped out at 49, and I got to 50, and I was like, oh, like it was so close to that record, and like I thought he was going well. I thought we both knew what the record was, and I just both thought that we were on track to do it. But yeah, we were running at different paces. So I only kind of got to chat to him at the start of each lap, and yeah, just kind of finished lap 50, and he hadn't finished, or he'd pulled out at the start of that lap, and yeah, so that was it. It was all over. It was all of a sudden, and I'm just like, okay, and yeah, so it's kind of like so close to getting that, and then like just missing out. And same thing, like if we look at Dead Cow Gully recently, like yes, that's absolutely over the moon that we're able to get to the world record. But then being at 119 when I knew I could have done 120, and even more. But 120 is just that nice round number. But at the same time, I'm like, Sam pushed himself as far as he could in that. Like he was willing himself to go on that lap 119, and he just couldn't. So I couldn't really ask too much more of him.
I suppose,
And
yeah, but I suppose a world record is a nice consolation prize
yeah,
for not being
yeah,
able to find your limit.
yeah, yeah,
Have you ever that feeling that you had in your first ever backyard ultra
yeah.
and DNFing? Have you ever closely felt that before, like recently?
So the closest I came to that would have been at the 2022 Sat Champs. I thought I was going to be out in the early 60s, and somehow it was all down to my crew on that one. I think they just kept convincing me to go out for another lap. And
It was the IV drip in the caravan.
each lap was a struggle with that one, and each time my crew's like, "Oh, you just have to do one more." And like I just keep believing him. I'm like, "Oh yeah," like they might have been telling me something like, "Oh, Ryan's just about to drop out," or whatever, and I just like, "Okay, yeah, cool, one more, and then that's it."
Yeah,
Uh,
I love that about you though, because that's one thing I've kind of taken off you is that you said that your crew looks after you during that 15-minute
yeah,
break, and that's their job, and your job is just to get back to them after with the 6.7.
yeah.
That's something that I always find hard to let go of, like some of the ordering around, and I need this, I need that. Do you let go pretty early to that for your crew just to do what they need to do? Or do you still kind of come in and say, "Oh, I'm going to need this"? Or
Oh, there's still a lot of me asking them, like, yeah, telling them what to do or asking them for things. But yeah, I guess when I get to those points where I'm struggling or I'm not really coherent, like you would have seen me at Biggs, and I'm just like, what is it I'm doing? Like, why do I need to run to this point and turn around and come back?
yeah,
And I'm not thinking straight. It's like I just have to have faith in my crew and that they're going to look after me. And as long as they get me out for that lap, then I'm going to run to that turnaround point and I'm going to turn around and come back. I don't know why I'm doing it, but I know that I have to do it.
yeah. Well, it was amazing at Biggs. I couldn't believe it. You came out, you came in, sorry, and you said, I don't see the point of this. We're taking this little transponder and we're taking it out 3.35 Ks, and then we're bringing it back. It's like, what's the point of this?" And Gemma's like, "You're in a race. You're in a race. That's the point of it." It was just so
That
funny.
doesn't sound like Phil.
Oh well,
that's
that was like 90 something hours in.
Yeah.
So I can
I don't get to
understand.
that point very often anymore. Like the last few like really big ones I've done, I've been quite coherent the whole way through, and Yeah, so even to the point where, like, because I've written my plan, I kind of know what's on it, and then my crew might forget to do something that was on the plan, and I'll come back in from the lap, and I was like thinking, like, hang on, was that last lap that was meant to be a sunscreen lap, wasn't it? And I'll check, it's like, oh yeah, sorry, and then so we catch up on the sunscreen or whatever. So
Do you think it's because you sleep so much during backyard ultras, like you don't lose it mentally as much as
yeah,
others?
I think that's a huge role, and that was one of the issues at Bigs is because I had the sore leg, I was doing the slower laps, I wasn't getting as much sleep or not getting any sleep, um, and yeah, that's kind of when my mind started to wander a bit more. But I think yeah, getting that sleep down pat, like when that sun comes up, uh, it feels like I've just had a decent 8 hours sleep almost. Like I'm just ready, good to go for another day.
So I'll take this one. This is a very big question. I'm sure we think it should happen for sure. But can you see a backyard ultra in the Olympics anytime soon?
No, I don't think it'll ever get to the Olympics.
Oh
I would love
no.
it to, but I don't think there's any way. It's not a big enough event.
You don't think that like it's for viewers, like it's a
I
cool.
I think it would be, and I would love to see it in there, and I think it'll be perfect. I think it'd be great to have it on like day one of the Olympics or even day one of the athletics calendar. And, just it's just something you can cut to for a few minutes each hour, and, it'll build up people's interest, and, they'll be watching some other sport, and then it'll cut to this for 5 minutes, and they'll be like, oh, what's this? And it's like, oh, this was the same race they started 3 days ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really cool
It's such,
concept.
and it's cool watching the live streaming and stuff like that, but it's just such a niche sport that, yeah, I don't think I don't think it'll get added. It'll be great if it did, but I mean, we're even just like pushing to try and get, trail running added to the Olympics at the moment. So there's a push for that for the 2032 Olympics. And my thoughts is like the longest that'll probably be is 50 Ks. Like it'd be great if they could do like 100 Ks. But yeah, even just trying to get that in seems like a big hurdle. But to go, okay, now we want to put this 5-day event in there.
I wanted to shift a little bit to because you're not just a backyard ultra runner. You
He's
do run
great in a backyard
backyard
ultra, but he's also great in
but
both
you also
formats.
run point to point events.
Yeah,
And there was one that you ran in Taipei, the Ganame peak to
yeah,
coast to peak,
yeah,
recently. And I know you on your Strava, I read that you had a lot of issues during that race.
yeah,
And it's something that I never see you have any issues.
yeah,
But I read that you had issues at 80 Ks, you had issues at 100 Ks, and then you had issues at 130 Ks, and then you still managed to win that race.
yeah.
I want to know how you worked through those issues when so many times you don't actually have issues. So when it popped up, like, did you think this could be the end of my race? I'm going to stop, or what steps did you take? Yeah.
Yeah, so the first issue I had, I think it would have been before 80 Ks. It was, can't even remember the distances now. It was probably like a third of the way through it. So this is a 100-mile race. And I started peeing blood. And for me, this is like a big, like, this is a good reason to pull out. Like, don't take this lightly. But I didn't have any other symptoms. I didn't have any like lower back pain or, wasn't painful or anything like that. And I'm just like, I'm just going to hydrate more. I still needed to get to that next aid station before I could pull out anyway. I wasn't just going to sit on the side of the road. So I was just like, yeah, I'll just focus on hydrating more. I'm going to see if this improves. I'm not going to push myself too much. So I'll back off the pace. Like I didn't want to do anything that's going to, set me back too far in recovery or anything like that. And it did start to improve. And like I'd kind of told myself, I need to get to the halfway aid station, the 80K aid station. And that was one of the main aid stations where, I had my drop bag in that. And if I did need to pull out, that would have been a good spot to do it. And I'm like, if I'm not better by then, that'll be the spot where I pull out. I got to that point, sat down for 10 minutes, had some stuff to eat. And then kind of just after I left that aid station, I stopped to go to the toilet and it had cleared up. And I'm like, oh, damn, I got to keep going now. But
You
yeah,
wanted
and then
an
I
out.
had other issues with nausea as well. And I was just, because I'd probably focused too much on getting the hydration in, I hadn't been eating properly. So I started having issues with nausea. My headlamp had gone out and it still worked, but it just wasn't full power. So it was very dim light. I was lucky I had the little torch on my Garmin for the bits where it got particularly dark. But there was like kind of all these things being thrown at me, and it's just like, you know what, this a lot of times it went through my head, this isn't my A race. Like I came here because I was invited over. I had a free entry for it. My main race was coming up. That was Sydney Backyard. And this was just a training race. And it's like, why do I want to destroy myself in this race and not be able to perform well in Sydney? So there was a lot of times that was going through my head, and I kind of just played it by ear. Like I was just like, I just get to the next aid station, and if I feel like I need to pull out, then I can pull out there. And it's like a backyard. You break it down lap by lap. It's like, I might not be feeling great, but I can do this next lap. So let's get that lap done. It was just like, let's get to that next aid station. And when the sun came up, and as you know, when you do a backyard, sun comes up, it's like, it's a new day. Let's just keep going. The same thing happened in this race. The sun came up. It actually got to the more difficult part of the race, like when the elevation really started to build. And it was the part of the race that I was worried about, but all of my other issues started to go away. And around that same point as well, I started catching up to first place. And then I'm like, actually, I'm running all right here. Even though I've had all these issues, I've now caught up to first place. The sun's up, I'm feeling better. And I just started powering up these hills, like the part of the course that I was most worried about. And yeah, just started improving. I started getting more food in. So I just, like, I use food different to what was on my plan. Like normally I'm very like stick to my plan a lot. And I got to an aid station and they had, so they had chips there, which I didn't have chips on my plan. And just like, my body was telling me, just try those chips. And I had these chips and it was great. And then there was some fruit at the aid stations, at the next aid station. So I was having some fruit. And then I was actually able to ask the aid station people, because these aid stations were kind of like leapfrogging. They would like serve you there and then drive up to the next one. So I was able, like, can you get more of this fruit, more of these chips? And so they were happy to go and get that stuff for me. And yeah, it's just everything started improving. I did struggle a lot towards the end as well, like as I started to get up into those really high altitudes. So we're looking at like 3,000 meters above sea level. At the time, like because I built up into that altitude so gradually, I didn't really notice it. But then like looking back, I was like, I know why I struggled so much in, those last 10, 20 Ks now because of the altitude, but I didn't realize it at the time. I just thought I've been awake too long and I'm fatigued and, I'm recovering from all these issues that I had. So yeah, definitely a very tough race. A lot went wrong. But looking back, like it's probably good in a way because I've just learned so much about what I'm actually capable of and what I can push through. And when I got to Sydney and, I was fully recovered and good for Sydney Backyard, I had a rubbish first night and I was getting nausea again. And I was like, hang on, I had so much worse in Taiwan. And I still was able to come through and finish okay. So I just knew I just had to get through that night, wait for the sun to come up, and yeah, I was feeling better. And just, yeah, having that kind of in my memory bank is like, yeah, this sucks and it's not great, but this is something that I can get through.
Well, it's amazing to hear you tell a story like that, that from the outside, it looked like you just won a race.
Yeah.
So yeah, going back to how I said, oh, do you learn anything from, because you have so much success, but that just, personifies what you said, you just, yeah.
And then on top of all that, he had dogs chasing him half the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a bit worried the first few times it happened, but then I just came to realize that this is just how it is in this part of the world. Like the dogs will come out and they'll bark at you, but they're not dangerous. They're not going to attack you.
Well, we've all spoken about it. We've all seen it on Strava. We want to know, what is the body pump for 45 minutes? We want to know what it is.
Yeah, so that's my strength training. So body pump, it's a 45-minute workout class. I try to get there 3 times a week. And for me, it's I don't like going to the gym, but I do it, number 1, for my running and number 2, for my work. I don't enjoy it, but having the body pump class makes it more interesting. I'm more motivated to go. I don't have to think too much. I just go there and the instructor does all the movements and I just follow them and I get a full body workout in 45 minutes. And that's just what works for me. And the reason I put it in Strava is just like with my running, I like to be able to track it. I like to be able to, look back on previous weeks and see how many times I've gone and things like that. And it's just another way to make me more accountable. Like not that anyone, well, you guys have been checking my Strava and seen my body pump, but you know, no one's keeping tabs on it and, you know, saying, oh, you didn't go to body pump this week or whatever. But for me, it's just like, I like to put it on there. So it just helps keep myself accountable.
What are some exercises that are specifically involved in that you do? Is it like push-ups or?
Yeah, so pretty much everything. So you work in the whole body. So you start with your quads, so you're doing squats. Then you go into your chest, so you're doing like bench press kind of things, push-ups. Then you're doing your back, where you're doing your, you know, your clean and press and stuff like that. And then your triceps, biceps, and then your shoulders and lunges. And if there's time, you finish with some core workout. So it does cover pretty much everything, and it's more focused on like repetition rather than heavy weight. So you're using light weights, but you're doing a lot of reps.
Okay. So obviously you're running for 40, 60, 100 plus hours. And we want to know, how are you able to sustain your food intake, taking into account mental needs? Like you might not want a specific food at 100 plus hours.
It does happen. With the backyards, I've kind of fine-tuned it to the point that I know what I'm going to be eating at that time, and you know, it normally works for me. And it's like, well, that worked in the last backyard, so let's just copy paste that plan. Sometimes things have to change, like going to Biggs, for example, there's no facilities there. I'm not going to be able to use a microwave or, you know, an oven or, you know, any of those sort of things. I'm kind of limited to what I can have on that side of things. But yeah, I kind of just plan all the food out in advance. So when I come in from a lap, my crew knows exactly what I need to have. But there are times where I'm like, I don't feel like I can eat that, and there'll be backup options that I can have. I've got a few go-tos, which is like, no matter how I'm feeling, it's normally something that I can eat. So like custard is a good one. Like it just goes down really easy. It tastes good, and it's just high like calories.
Even the noodles?
What
do we think about the noodles?
The noodles haven't actually been on the plan for the last few backyards, only because I had Mally crewing for me at the Satellite Champs last year, and he was making burritos. And so my plan was noodles one night, burritos the next. But I had the burrito the first night, and I'm just like, no, this is so good. Let's get rid of the noodles. We'll have burritos each night. But so we've been doing that for the last few backyards. But now going into Biggs, where I'm, you know, limited to things that I can like cook using hot water, the noodles are going to be coming back onto the plan. So,
Which, when it gets like really, really bad and really, really hard, and your guts are playing up, and because it happens to everyone, that you can't even you can't even look at food. You don't even feel like your liquid nutrition. You don't feel like anything. What's the one thing that you consume that actually does agree with you, and that you say, you know what, give me that thing because I know that it's my last resort?
well, like the custards, as I mentioned earlier. The other one as well is like Coke. So Coke's full of calories, and that's just normally pretty easy to drink, and it gives you a little bit of a caffeine boost as well.
One thing that I wanted to ask you, and I struggle a little bit with, is how do you prioritize your sleep, but also eating meals in a way? So, because you obviously have meals throughout the night. Yeah. And when you're running fast sleeps, you don't want to be eating meals because that might be cause distress on the guts, unless it doesn't for you. But usually what I do, I have a smaller snack and then run a fast loop so that I'm not having my gut swirl around with a big meal. How do you prioritize the sleep meals, just sleep and nutrition in general?
Yeah, so with as I said before, I do the 3 fast laps and then the 1 slow. So on the 3 fast laps, when I come in, it's something that I can eat real quick. So like a gel, a custard, you know, a couple of lollies. Even with the lollies, it might be like I have 1 lolly before I go to bed, and then another 2 when I get up before I get to the start line. And then on the slower laps, that's when I have my meal. So that's when I'm having my burrito, or I'll have like a microwave meal or whatever it is on the plan. So yes, on that slower lap, I'm having that meal, and I then have to go and run a faster lap after that. But that faster lap, I just play it by ear. And as I said, it's all relative. Like if I feel like I'm going to be pushing myself too much, like I don't care if I do that lap a little bit slower because I need to let that food settle a bit more, then I'll do it slower. But most of the time, I normally find I can still stick to that normal pace.
Those were the exact things. You were like reading my mind. Everything that you just said was going through my mind. I'm like, yeah, but on the slower lap, I still got to run a fast lap whilst I've just eaten a meal. But as you said, you play it by ear. Yeah, it's all relative.
And also, like, eating as soon as you get in. So, like, when I say slower lap, it'll be like 45 to 50 minutes. So even if I'm coming in at 45 minutes and I'm eating and it takes me 5 minutes to eat that meal, I've still got 10 minutes to sit there and let it settle. And then when I start, like if I still feel it's not quite settled, I just start a little bit slow, and then I can pick up the pace and just sort of play that by ear. But yeah, most times I do find that I can kind of sit into that pace. And as we said before, 5 minutes 45, it's not fast for me. Like it's fast for a backyard, but compared to what I normally run, it's very sustainable.
How does that nutrition shift from a backyard ultra to a point to point? Obviously, when you're running a backyard ultra, you got more time, things can settle.
Yeah.
What does your nutrition look like compared to a point to point?
Yeah, so point to point, it depends how far. So, like if it's say like a 100 mile, I'm on the aid stations. I'm having those more substantial meals. So I'm still kind of getting like a 10-15 minute break at those aid stations, and then when I'm during each leg, it might be like 15Ks or 30Ks, whatever it is. It's just foods that I can carry and eat on the run. So yeah, gels, custards, lollies, chips, like little things like that. If it's a shorter run, like a 50K, or I did a 65K recently, it's just relying on those smaller foods. And if I'm running for 5 to 7 hours, it compared to the big runs that I normally do, it's not a long time. So I can get by on those little snacky foods, and I don't feel I need to have those big main meals.
Rely on liquid nutrition a lot.
Yeah, so I use trail brew, and with the backyards, the way that works is I'll drink the trail brew when I'm out on the lap, and probably over a 24-hour period, I think there's about 18 laps where I'm having trail brew. The other 6 is water, just to kind of break it up a bit, and you don't get that flavor fatigue kind of thing. And then when I'm sitting down, that's when I'm eating the solid food. When I'm doing a point to point, I'll have 1 flask with water and 1 flask with trail brew. And I'm normally drinking the trail brew, and then the water is if I run out of the trail brew. But then also sometimes I, might go off the trail brew, and it's like I just need to drink water. I've got that water there ready to go.
I kind of wanted to shift a little bit to like the mental side of you and how everything works for you. And I wanted to go back to when you started the whole 5K a day thing. And when you started, I often look at myself, and I remember the me that first started running, and he took that first step, and I'm real proud of that guy, right? And I remember having pushback from outside people, maybe saying that, oh, what are you doing? You're not a runner. You're all those things, right? Did you have any of those challenges when you first started? Obviously, you've gone from not being much of a runner, and then now you've started running, and people are seeing you in a different light. Did you ever feel like you had any pushback? And if you didn't, what advice would you give to someone that does have that kind of pushback? And because a lot of our listeners are people that maybe just kind of starting out, and maybe feeling and having that fear of, how do I start? Everyone's going to look at me differently. What do I do?
Yeah. So I didn't have a lot of pushback. Like I wouldn't say, like I wasn't brand new to running at that point. So I was a runner in high school, and then after high school, it became a bit more sporadic, and I just did it every now and then. But then, yeah, committing to doing the 5K a day and running every single day. Like I did have a couple of comments about, oh, you need to make sure you take rest days. It's not healthy to run every single day. And for me, it was more about building that habit, building that routine. If I'm just going to have making sure I'm having rest days all the time, I might start to utilize those rest days too often. I just want it to be consistent. And for me, a rest day is like going out for an easy 5K. Like just don't worry about pace. I can run it, 5 minutes per K, 6 minutes per K. It doesn't matter. I just want to go through the process of stepping out the door, putting on my shoes, and just going out and getting that movement, getting that sunshine. And yeah, so that's what's worked for me. Yeah, for other people wanting to get into it and wanting to try, I'd say the biggest thing you got to aim for is consistency. For me, that was 5Ks a day. For someone else, it might be just running 3 times a week, or it might just be getting to parkrun every single week. You just got to start somewhere, and then if you start going to parkrun every week, you might then go, oh, I want to throw in another run, and you do like a Wednesday run, and you might build up to that running every day, and having your rest days as like an easy 5K run, or even just an easy 1K run. And even to the point where, like, if you're really feeling sick and you're really not feeling up to it, just going through the process of stepping out your door, putting your running shoes on, going to the letterbox and back, you're building that identity of being a runner. So even though you're not actually physically going out and doing a run, you're going through that process and you're just reinforcing that in your mind that this is, you're building that habit.
Pretty cool, Phil, to hear you talk about it like that, because I think a lot of people do fear starting and what other people might think and things like that. And I think, yeah, just putting your shoes on, just walk to the letterbox. There's day one. That's what day one looks like.
Outside of running, do you have any small mental training methods? Like, this might look like a cold shower because a lot of people don't like cold showers, but it's something small that builds your mental resistance up, and how you might look back on those small training methods in a race, not just a backyard ultra or a point to point. And are there any methods, small training methods that you
Yeah,
use?
so it's funny you mentioned the cold showers because that is something that I do. And it started out as a way for me to do cold training because so there was a race I was doing, I think it was 2022. There was a race I was doing in Canberra in the middle of June and it was expected to be really cold. And I was out, I met some friends for a run one morning and was standing around and I was shivering. And this was only like the very start of winter, like it wasn't even that cold. And I'm just like, how am I going to be at Canberra? I need to do something to fix this issue. Like, this is one of my weaknesses. Like, let's work on it. And that's when I started doing the cold showers. So, yeah. And what I found from that is, yes, it's helping with that cold adaptation, but it's also helping building resilience in the mind because you stand in front of the shower and you're like, I don't want to go and
I won't
stand
have a
under
cold
there.
shower.
But you're just like, no, I just got to do it because there's going to be times in the backyard where you're just like, I don't want to go and start. I don't want to go and line up at that start line. I don't want to get out of this nice warm bed. It's like, well, you just got to do it. You've got 2 minutes before you need to get to the start line. So just, stand up and go and do it. So I think the cold showers helps with that. The other thing is just training in, any conditions, like no matter how you feel or what's going on in your day, doing those runs that are hard. Like you might, you will see that I've done these really big ultras and then the next day I'm still getting out for a run. Like, that's a really hard run to do. And I might be running at 6 minutes per K, but it's just instilling, in myself that even when I feel like this, I can still get out and I can still run 6.7 Ks, So, yeah, if it doesn't just have to be after a run, it might be, it's pouring down with the rain or it's boiling hot or you might be short on time for the day and means you need to wake up at 3 o'clock to get your run in. It's like, you need to do these runs because
Draw upon that during races.
Yeah.
Do you look back and say, hey, remember when you got up out of that?
Yeah.
Remember when you did this? Remember when you that? So that's how when you're in a mental low or a physical low during a race, do
Yeah.
you tend to do?
Yeah, definitely. There was a race at Birdies one year and it just started pouring down with rain and, the ground was all muddy and, shoes and socks were getting wet. And it was just, it wasn't great running conditions, but I just kind of turned that around and I'm just like, I love running in the rain. Like, how good is this? Like, I'm getting cooled down as I run. And at first I started trying to avoid the puddles and, keep my shoes and socks dry. And then I just accidentally stepped in a puddle and it's like, well, my shoes wet now. Let's just go for it. And I found I was running a lot better when I didn't care about the puddles. It's like, let's just run through this. And I get back, there was more work for the crew, like trying to dry socks and dry shoes and, have to change my shoes and socks each lap. But then, just going through those laps and not having to worry about, I need to try and dodge these puddles and, go really slow through that section and lose a lot of time. Just like, no, let's just run through it and we'll deal with the shoes when I get back.
Do you use a bit of comedy at all? I at Sat Champs, I remember when the heavens opened up and it poured down rain and we were getting blown off the course. I pretty much looked up and I go, is this the best you've got? And we're getting smashed by the weather. And we came back and everything was wet. Everyone was drenched. Do you ever use a little comedic relief in your, pushing through going, oh my God, this is so funny. Look at, yeah. Do you ever laugh at yourself?
I don't, maybe a little bit, but when that happened at Sat Champs, I just kind of went into like, what do you call it? I don't know what the word is I'm looking for.
I wish I could help you,
Like
Andy, but
disaster management kind of thing. Like I was like, I was coming in and I'm like, okay, crew, like it's raining, so I've got these 3 rain jackets. We've got to rotate them through each time. I'm going to come in. You're going to have the towel ready for me. So I take the jacket off, and it's just went into that kind of yeah, like fixing mode. Like
I feel
the,
sorry
the,
for my crew. I came in and said, "Is this the best you've got?" Phil comes in. All right, we got plans. We got
yeah.
disaster management. We got disaster management going on.
Yeah. So, and then it's like, like I can't control the weather. That's just how it is. That's what we're faced with. And it's like, there's no point whinging about it or complaining about it. Let's just, just get into action mode, and this is what needs to be done. It's like, yeah, we'll manage, like, make sure I'm rotating through these 3 rain jackets and make sure I'm drying off before I'm getting into bed. And, this is what we've got, but we'll deal with it.
Speaking of the weather, Phil, we were worried about the rain and everything, and it's raining now. And Phil's like, nah, it'll be what it be. Like, and he's right, because we got no other opportunity to record this. I wanted to say something. I believe that you have a streak going with your running. Does that have a positive or more of a negative influence on you? It's like, oh, I got to get out for that run, but sometimes you might need a rest day.
Yeah, I think it's definitely more positive. There are a few times where it's like, well, maybe I shouldn't have run. So, uh, most times it's fine. Like, I know the day after an event, I probably should rest, like physically, but I think mentally, it just reinforces, as I was just saying before, like when I'm feeling like that, my legs are all sore. I've just run almost 800 Ks. It just reinforces that even though I feel like this, I can still run. Um, there's been times where, yeah, maybe I shouldn't run, and like, so I've got I've had bursitis in my knee, and I've got an injection of cortisone, and you're meant to rest for 48 hours to let that medication take effect properly.
And you rested?
Yes, but rest is relative. So I did talk to my physio, and I explained to him, and he knows my background as a runner. He's been working with me for a long time, and he knows that I'm doing a streak, and that I want to be able to run every day. And instead of telling me, no, don't go and run, like, you really need to rest, his advice was, well, rest is relative. So if you're going to run, just keep it nice and easy, nice and short. So like, just like 5K, slow pace. And that's what I did. Like, I waited as long as I could. So I had the cortisone injection on one morning. So I did my run, and then I got the injection. So that run for that day was done. The next day, I waited till like 9 o'clock at night before I went for my run. So it wasn't quite 48 hours, but it was over 30 hours. And going out for that run, like, yeah, it didn't even build up a sweat or anything. Like, I was running at 6-minute K. So like, on some days I can walk at 6 minutes per K.
Jeepers, that's pretty fast.
So running that, like, I didn't really get my heart rate too high. I didn't really put any, stress on my knee. And yeah, so knee's going really well. Happy.
When we're all in a mental low or a physical low, we look for one specific thing, and I really want to know, what do you look for in a mental low? If you get into a mental low, I'm sure a lot of runners get into a mental low, but what is it that one thing that you look for that gets you out of that hole?
Um, well, in a backyard, I bring it back to focusing on that lap and staying in the present. So I'm not projecting. I'm not thinking, oh, like I'm having, don't think I can get through to sunrise or whatever it is. I don't think I can get through to my PB or the record, or I just think all I got to do is get through this lap. And I think the backyard is set up like perfectly that it's so easy to focus on that next lap. And, not having that finish line means you don't have to think, oh, I have to run. If you're running a 100-mile race and, at the first aid station, you're having like a real mental low, it can feel so overwhelming of how much further you've got to go. Whereas a backyard, like, you might have some idea of how far it's going to go, but you don't know for sure. Like, you don't need to focus on any, far off distance. All you're focusing on is that next lap.
Yeah, me and Ollie often talk about like emotions. We're pretty emotional when we race, when we do things. Some of them are positive, some of them can be negative.
Yeah.
How do you view emotions in terms of when you race? Like, do you still get nervous? How do you use emotion to drive you forward, I suppose?
Yeah. I
Gets
don't.
excited now because
He gets excited instead of
nervous. He gets
I don't
excited.
think, yeah, I don't think I'm a very emotional person. I'm just very, like, probably more like analytical and like logistical with the way I approach my races. Yes, I do get nervous before an event, but I know I've done enough of them now that I know that that's normal, and I know that as soon as I start running, it'll be fine. Like before a backyard, I want to make sure everything's set up and, I've got the right gear on. I've made sure I've done my squirrel's nut butter on my feet and all of that. And you just want the race to start. And once the race starts, you just get into that race mode. And it's like, all I got to do is just run this lap. And when I get back, my crew's going to sort out everything else. And yeah, you just get into it.
Shut out those emotions.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I have. Yeah. Like even just day to day, I don't really get that emotional, I guess.
Yeah.
But
We also talk about a why. Like that, and this why is always developing, and our why is almost something that you look back in a run in a time of hardship, and that's why I do it. And sometimes it's hard to look at that why. It's like, oh, why was I thinking that, and why am I running this race? But you really want to develop a really strong why. And have you developed a strong why for why you
yeah,
run?
like I hear a lot of people talk about this, and I don't. There's not really like one thing that I can pinpoint. Like I wouldn't say I have a really strong why, other than I just want to push myself as far as I can go. And I've discovered this thing that I'm good at, and I want to see how much further I can push myself in this space. So
Well, that in itself is why. Yeah, you're pushing the limit, and it's like, oh, why am I doing this? I'm doing this to find my limit.
Oh, I got a really cool question later on about that. No, later on. I'll say it later on because we'll keep the viewers on the on the edge of their seats. Obviously, you're known as the world record holder, running 119 hours, and 3 days later, I heard at parkrun. I actually wasn't too sure, but a couple of days later, you ran like 17:48 at your parkrun. Yeah. And I was mind blown at seeing this, and I'm sure Dad was mind blown at seeing this. But what does your physical and emotional recovery look like after such I don't want to say traumatic, but heavy event on your body and mind?
yeah, so it depends on the event, obviously. So after Dead Cow Gully, like you saw my last lap, it was like 33 minutes. I was still feeling really strong. So I think recovery from that was a lot easier than compared to like when I did 76 hours at the 2022 satellite champs, and I was struggling lap by lap for like the last 15 laps or whatever it was. Even though I've run 119 hours, a lot of it's been at like a, relatively slow pace, let's say. And yeah, just having enough energy at the end to be able to run that fast lap, like my body pulled up okay from that. I think like the last event that I did where I wasn't able to run the next day was Biggs in 2023. So yeah, coming up to 2 years now of running every single day. I definitely feel like my recovery has got a lot better, but there's not really one thing I can kind of pinpoint that down to. I'd like to just be able to tell you, I just started taking magnesium every night and now my recovery is perfect. There's a lot of different kind of factors that'll go into it, but there's not anything I can kind of
I
pinpoint
suppose
that
just
to.
general endurance, like and
Yeah.
experience probably
Yeah.
comes into it.
Yeah.
I find a lot of the time, when I first started, if I did a 50K race, I couldn't walk for 2 or 3 weeks, and now it's a lot easier. Obviously, once you build that endurance up, your probably body can sustain those kinds of things. I kind of wanted to ask a more serious question. So to increase the viewership in Belgium and the USA, yes, that's right. What does it take to beat Phil Gore? And if you were your own opponent, what would you do to take you down?
I would say for a start, don't assume I'm going to win. Even though I've got a good track record with these and I've done some big numbers, don't go into it assuming I'm going to win. And I found that at like more local events, like people see me come up there and it's like, oh, okay, well, he's going to win it. So I'll go as far as I can go, but I'm not going to be able to beat him. If you don't assume I can win, then then you've got a chance to beat me. It's like if you go into it thinking that I'm going to win, then you've already lost. So, and I think, so you look at Dead Cow Gully, Sam never assumed I was going to win, even when he was starting to struggle after, 100 hours, or even I think he started before that. At no point did he think, Phil's got me. He still just pushed through every single lap because he still thought there was a chance there that he could beat me. And it needs to have that sort of mindset to do it, I think.
Yeah, that's a good response. Hopefully the US and the Belgian viewers are listening.
You just gotta have the mindset, guys.
Yeah, that's right. You need the Phil Gore mindset. Do you think becoming a full-time athlete would make you a better athlete, or do you think that being a firefighter actually helps you and gives you a little bit of a break from all the running and everything that is encompassed in being Phil Gore, the ultra runner?
That's a tricky question. I love being a firefighter, and there's definitely aspects of that that help me with my ultra running. If I, yeah, I I don't think there's enough money in ultra running to be able to do that as a full time job. But hypothetically, if there was, I would only do it if I could keep doing all the things that I'm doing the way that I want to do them. I wouldn't have to. I don't want to have to change the way that I run or change the events that I do or want to do based on someone telling me, "Oh no, you need to go and do this event because we're going to be, doing some doc I want to or whatever." I would still want to have complete control over how I do things, and I don't want it to. Um, if I'm doing that sort of stuff like full time, I don't want it to feel like it becomes a chore because that might take the joy out of running. Like,
Do you think the firefighting and having that other side of you complements the running as well? Like instead of if you were just ultra running,
yeah.
that other 8 hours that say you work, do you think that you could utilize that time better for, whether it be recovery, more running, or anything like that to make you a better athlete?
Um, I think I'd probably just like to have a bit more downtime. It does, like, obviously I put a lot of hours into not just the hours that I'm on my feet training, but also, yeah, doing the planning, sorting out the logistics for these events, doing podcasts, which I love doing. Um, there's just so many other aspects to it that, yeah, if I didn't have to work as a fire full time, I'd just kind of enjoy that downtime a bit more, I think.
She can't run 24 hours of the day. And I actually often think myself
Yeah,
sometimes, what would I do?
yeah,
Like there is only so much you can do. But
yeah.
yeah. Well, I guess my next question is that has your relationship with running changed over time as you've gained more experience?
Definitely. It definitely consumes my life a whole lot more now. When I started and it was 5Ks a day, the reason I did 5Ks, it was just like, this is just 20 minutes of my day. Surely I can find 20 minutes every day to go out and do a run, or 25 minutes if it's a recovery run. And yeah, so it definitely takes up a lot more of my time now, but I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. I love running. I love where running's taken me. Like I've been to Taiwan, USA, like pretty much all the states in Australia, like traveling for events, and I've had all these opportunities that I wouldn't have had if I wasn't a runner. So yeah, I really enjoy that side of it, and yeah,
Yeah. So what's one thing that you really admire about another runner
yeah.
and that you don't believe that you do, but you do admire about them? And is there something that you wish that you possessed that you probably don't? And
Yeah. So I do admire Alexander Sorokin. So as much as I love the backyards, 24-hour format is another one that I absolutely love. And yeah, I want to be able to push myself really far in that space as well. And I look at Sorokin and the amount of mileage that he does each week. I think he would be a full-time athlete. I think he does have the time to dedicate to that. I don't know how he could fit in doing a full-time job with the hours that he does. But yeah, like so my best in the 24 hours 270 and his best is just shy of 320K. So that's a huge gap in 24 hours. So I'd love to know what I would have to do to go from doing that 270 to that almost 320 and be at his level. And he's just one athlete. I would love to run with him. I did have the chance to go to the 24-hour world champs this year, but it was on the same weekend as Biggs, and Biggs won out in the end. But yeah,
It shows how much Phil values the backyard ultra to meet his hero and someone that he admires over. Yeah.
that's pretty, yeah, that's incredible. Like to hear you, speak about another athlete like that, because we all admire you and we all wish that, we had the things that you possess so that we could be better. But for you to, speak about another athlete like that's pretty cool.
It shows that you're like human in a way. It's like I
yeah,
thought Phil was the pinnacle of ultra running, and now
Well, he is.
yeah. Well, you look at my 24-hour distance, and it's like second top in Australia of all time. But on the world scale, it wouldn't even be top 10. So there's so many better athletes in the 24 hour.
Well, that's something that you just progress in.
Yeah. It's hard to focus on the two different disciplines as well though. Like it's I mean they're both ultra running and you know the training can be similar, but they're two completely different formats. The 24 hour is a much faster pace, much more sustained, whereas the backyard is just, you know, that's just a game of conservation of energy. Like it's very different.
Yeah, I mean, you haven't probably, dedicated as much energy towards the 24-hour format as what you have to backyard ultras. And I'd love to see you, dedicate more energy to that 24-hour and see how far you can actually go.
24 hour almost seems too short now.
48, 6 day. That's cool. So my biggest supporter in running is my wife Rachel, and I wouldn't be half the athlete that I am. I mean, we all get cranky, we all get, as runners, injuries and all those kinds of things that happen. How important is Gemma to Phil Gore, the ultra runner?
I couldn't have done the things that I've done without her. She's been at almost every single one of my backyards, and yeah, she just knows. Yeah, she knows how it operates. She knows what's going to push me out for another lap, or when something's going wrong, she knows what to do. But it's not just what happens at the events. It's when I have to go on a long run, and she'll crew me for that long run. So she'll drive around the city, like meeting me at spots, and even just when she's not crewing me on a training run, it's still the time that I'm away from home. Like I might be gone half the morning doing my long run and don't get to see her until lunchtime or whatever. And so she's just very understanding with all of that side of things, and she wants to do what she can do to help out, and even to the point of like helping me out with the Instagram stuff, or like prepping stuff for my long runs. And there's so many different sides to it. And yeah, if I was doing it on my own, it'd be a lot more work, and I don't think I'd get the distances and results that I do today.
I always wonder what it would look like if it was you and Lucas Robel. I'm not Polish. Oh, I am Polish, but I don't speak Polish. I don't. Like you say, because you have the accent.
Lucas Vrobel. Łukasz Vrobel, yeah.
And I wonder what it would be like between you two. And I'll lead into my question after this, and how long it would go for in a backyard ultra. And I was wondering what excites you about the future of a backyard ultra in terms of how far it can go, and to what point is it considered, all right, that's enough?
Yeah, yeah. These events are getting ridiculously long, aren't they? I saw that race that Lucas ran, and I was looking at his times, and he was looking good on the videos. Like I was just like, this guy can run all day, and I want to run against him. And I've actually messaged him a few times through Instagram and that, and he's coming to Big, so we're going to get to run together there. The downside of it being at Big Zo is it is a lot harder course. Like it would be cool if we could run at an event like Dead Cow Gully, or Legends in Belgium, or something like that, where I think the course at Bigs could be a limiting factor. I definitely think we can still push the world record there. But yeah, put us on a better course, and have good conditions like we had at Dead Cow Gully. Like, yeah, how much further could we go? And it's actually kind of scary to think about. Like at the end of Dead Cow Gully at 119 hours, I was still thinking I could run another day. And I look at what some of the athletes do in the 6 day space. Like you look at Meg Eckert's recent run, and her pacing was kind of on par with the backyard ultra, doing 100 miles a day, and the rest breaks and stuff that she was having. It wasn't exactly like a backyard ultra, but it was relatively close, that I feel like if I ran a 6 day like a backyard ultra, I could finish it.
Yeah, we're pretty excited to watch you go up against Vrobel. I think that I don't think I've seen anyone in the backyard ultra space
That's quite like you.
it's quite like you, and he has so many similarities.
Yeah.
He has this very distinctive running gait. He's very compact. He's very efficient in the way he goes.
Robotic.
But yeah, he's very robotic, and he's a super nice guy as well. And yeah, so it's going to be interesting. We can't wait for Biggs and to see you do that. I'm excited for it.
You got a cool question.
So, are you empathetic to your competitors who also want to taste victory, but it's so hard when they come up against you?
Yeah, well, yeah, they it's something I think that needs to be earned. Like if I was in the position where I was looking like the weakest competitor, and yeah, I wouldn't want the winner or the potential winner to just step aside and say, "Here, take the win," or let's just call it a draw and finish together. I would want to earn that win. So, yeah, that's how I'll treat my competitors as well. If they want the win, they have to earn it.
I guess in the spirit of competition, that's why it makes it so. Like if you're gonna win every time, it'd be pointless to even race. I suppose Ollie just became the fastest Caprazak in the household. So I mean, but you wouldn't have at parkrun this morning. But you wouldn't have that wouldn't have felt as good if I let you have it.
Yeah, in saying that though, it's yeah, like you said, does that person actually want them to give them the win?
I don't think
Like
they do.
I don't think
Yeah,
They do. A real competitor doesn't do that.
Yeah.
it might seem like that, but deep down it's like
yeah,
I didn't earn that.
yeah. It needs to be earned.
Well, I have an interesting question here. What kind of impact or legacy do you want to leave in the running community when I don't want to say the word retire, but yeah, when you retire in a way.
Ah, yeah, I don't know. Like when I started running and I started my 5K day and I started the Instagram page, like that was mainly just to keep myself accountable. It was all about like I wanted to keep myself fit. I wanted to improve my 5K time. And by having the Instagram page, it's like this is a way that I can track my runs every day. Yes, I had Strava, but I also wanted to have a photo record and stuff like that. And I wasn't expecting to get a big following. I didn't expect to inspire people. That kind of just came off as a byproduct. And now that I'm, since doing that 5Ks a day, like it's grown dramatically. Like it's as a huge following now. And, I get messages from people from all over the world. And it's very humbling to see that I've inspired these people and hear that these people are attempting their first backyard ultra, or even they're just attempting their first 5K, or, they're just being more active because they've seen something that I do or something that I've said has resonated with them. So I think that's kind of cool to know that I've kind of had that impact on a global scale. Like the ultra running community is still very niche, but even being niche, there's still a lot of people that are involved in that. And I think, in terms of legacy, I just want, if my runs and my results continue to inspire people, then that'll be an awesome thing. Like I still look at people like Yanis Kouros, and he hasn't been running in like 20 or so years, and I still look at his results, and I want to be able to run as well as he ran, and I aspire to maybe possibly beat some of his records. They feel very out of reach at the moment, but who knows. How much more I can improve.
I was gonna say I remember reading. Do you know Killian Jornet?
Yep.
I remember reading his book, and he, of course, he knows Killian Jornet. What kind of question is that? And I remember reading his book, and his way of escaping from just reality was going to the mountains and just being in the present moment with nature.
Yep.
And he actually never wanted to be this person that inspired other people.
Yep.
And do you feel like that has a positive impact on you, like knowing that you're inspiring like generations of people?
Yeah. It kind of gives my running a lot more worth, I guess. Like it's not just running for me anymore. It's running for other people as well. And as I said, it's not an impact that I'd ever thought I'd have, but it is kind of cool to be in that position where you are helping other people and inspiring other people. And
I heard a person this morning at parkrun come up to you, and they were thanking you like for inspiring them. And I'm like, oh my God, that must feel amazing to be you and hear that. Do you find that your girls do they look at you and go, that's Phil Gore, the ultra runner, or do they go, that's just Dad and he runs a lot?
Yeah, like I think for them it's been so normalized, and probably not until recently. Like, so recently after Dead Cow Gully, I was on the news a lot, like a few different stations, and like so the kids' friends at school were finding out. It's like, oh, that's your dad, and I think they're kind of now realizing, oh,
He's
dad's
legit.
pretty,
He's the real
yeah.
deal.
So dad's actually pretty famous, and it's kind of like it's I don't want to say flex. I don't think flex is the right word, but for them, their friends talking to them saying, oh, we saw your dad on the news, like. I think that's kind of cool for them to hear that, and something for them to be proud of as well. But like part of the reason I kind of got into running or back into running in the first place, like one of the things was I wanted to set a good example for the kids, and like, well, if I'm out there running every day, then maybe these healthy habits will rub off on them. But it hasn't at all. Like they're not interested in running
Not
at
yet.
all.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Maybe in the future. But I think maybe part of it is they look at the events that I do and they're just like, if I be a runner, I don't want to have to do that.
Yeah,
Like,
just in case if they show a little bit of interest,
Yeah.
they're like, oh no, dad's going to make us run for days.
Well, they might just think that to them, that's normal. That's what running is. It's like running is you go out and you run for 50 Ks. It's like they don't realize, you can go and do athletics and do 100 meters, 200 meters. When they have done cross country at school, like they've done quite well, and there is a bit of natural talent there, but they're just it's if they're not interested in it, that's fine. I'm not going to push it on them, but I'll continue to set an example, and maybe when they're a bit older and want to get into fitness or something, that they'll have that.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome example that you do set. You should be super proud. Super proud.
Well, these are a couple of deep questions coming up now. We saved them for last because the viewers who have made it this far, that's a good feat. All right, we've covered a lot of topics and these.
Yeah, we've gone here, there, and everywhere. I think.
Yeah. So my first one for you is, what does it cost to be you? And what I mean by that is the sacrifices that you have to make in order to be this great figure.
It's a hard one to answer because I don't feel like there's a lot of sacrifices, or the sacrifices that I do make are outweighed by what I'm getting out of it. Like I could say I'm sacrificing my sleep-ins and getting up at, some days I might get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go for a run, and people might see that as, oh, I'm sacrificing a good night's sleep, but I'm going out for that run and, I'm running 50 Ks and I'm getting back from that run and I'm feeling really good and really accomplished that I've done that. And so getting up at 3 o'clock didn't seem like a big deal.
Yeah, I see.
So, yeah.
So it doesn't seem like a sacrifice because you're getting
it's
something out of it.
It's something that I enjoy and something that I get a lot out of. Yeah, I don't.
Well, that's a good philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really good
actually,
philosophy to
because
take
it might look like a big cost to other people waking up at 3 a.m., but you thrive off
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, because
And-
we might often look at it and go, oh my God, that's such a big sacrifice. Or others might say, that's such a sacrifice. I'm not willing to make that sacrifice to be a runner,
Yeah.
but you love the running part of it.
And yeah, like going to bed the night before, I'm, going to bed a bit early and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to have to get up at 3 o'clock to get this long run done or whatever it is. But then I get up at 3 and I just, go through my morning routine and I'm, out the door and going for my run and, I'm out there in the dark and no one else is out there running and, just you've got that solitude and that peace. And then, halfway through your run, the sun starts coming up and it's just a really good feeling to see that sunrise. And then you get home and you're home by, I don't know, like 8 o'clock, whatever, however long the run goes for. And it's like, this is the time that most people are starting their day. And you're like, I've already run 50 Ks. Like, and you can go and you've got an excuse to have a nap in the afternoon or whatever. And, but you can still go about your day. And, so you're having that sacrifice at 3 o'clock, it's worth it for
It's an incredible way of actually framing what you
What
do.
it costs to be you.
Yeah, it costs nothing, essentially, because you're getting something out of it. Yeah, that's really cool. So most of us, I kind of touched on this earlier on, but most of us learn from our failures. I tend to learn a lot from my failures. When I look at you seem to have a contingency for everything before it happens. Is that something that you work on? Because I often I'll come up against something and I'll say to myself, why on earth did I not see this earlier? Do you actively, think about all the things that could go wrong so that there's a contingency in place before that happens?
Yeah, so after my first one, when I wanted to kind of pull out all the stops and just focus everything into doing the backyard, I ran through like a lot of scenarios in my head. Probably a bit of it was just overthinking. It's like, what if this happens? What if this happens? And I just went and bought all this stuff and had all these plans in place. But the more I did these backyards, I'm like, well, this stuff isn't happening. Like I'm planning for this stuff that's never going to happen. Um, and I kind of developed my plan like as I went on. But the more experience I had, um, yeah, you might get something go wrong, or you get something go right, and you realize what was good, what was bad, and yeah, you kind of take that into account when you're writing your plan. So I'm at the point now where like I have had issues go wrong in a backyard, and even if I've most of the backyards I've won anyway. So, but just to say, like,
It's so hard to say and not be like bragging, but he's
so
right.
you do learn a lot from your losses, but you still learn stuff from when you win as well, because you even though you win, you'd still have stuff go wrong, and you fix it. So, like for example, I never used to use salt tablets. The Stat Challenge 2022, the reason I was almost dropping out in the 60s is because I started getting this bad cramping in my leg. So we went back over my notes and we worked out I wasn't having enough salt. So next backyard, we started using salt, and I incorporated that into my plan. So you're still learning stuff from every event. It doesn't matter whether you win or you lose. You still learn stuff. So it's important to, yeah, not just look back on an event and go, well, I won that event, so I don't need to change anything. There's still stuff that went wrong, and you can still adjust that and fix it next time. And it's at the point now that I'm pretty happy with my plan, and I'm pretty happy with the strategies and stuff that I've got in place for if something goes wrong. And then I've also got people that I can call on as well to like for advice. So when I've got my crew there crewing for me for an event, I also have a message chat group which includes people who aren't there at the event. So most of the time, my nutritionist will be in there. Nathan, the hypnotherapist and doctor, is in there. So if things are going wrong, we've got a community of people there to like troubleshoot and brainstorm and solve these problems.
It must feel really nice that you've put all these contingencies in place and for the foresight to do all that, and then you hit something like Dead Cow Gully and you finish on 119, and you've still got more as
Yeah.
well. So it must be a nice feeling that all the things that you're doing, that it's actually working, and it's not only just working to reach a certain to 119.
Yeah.
It's worked to 119, and now you feel like it's beyond as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
With that, you're not just backyard ultras 24 hours. You're also a really fast 5K runner. Did that just come with running 5K a day, or did you have specific training? And this isn't a deep question, but it just popped into my head because I'm actually really interested, because you said that you were really focused and planned on the backyard ultra side of things, but did the 5K just come with that?
So when I started the 5K day, that was I just wanted to improve my parkrun time. So I was running about 20 minutes and I wanted to just get that time down lower. And I thought, like, I didn't want to work with a coach or anything. I'm just like, if I just run every day, then surely I'll get better at it. Like if I'm consistent with it, if I'm running every day, I'm going to see improvements. And I did. I saw improvements, and they happened not like every week, but I was probably getting a PB every month. And so from 20 minutes at the end of December, I'd kind of got that down to 17 minutes by June. So like 6 month period, kind of, I'd got that time down. And then from there, the gains were a lot smaller. But yeah, those kind of first 5 years of running that 5K to marathon, like my times in my 5K, they got really, really quick, and to the point where like, so my PB, which was at the start of 2020, was 15:37. And then so towards the end of 2020, that's when I discovered backyards, and like I still did park runs, but the focus on the training became more about the backyard. So I used to do park run as a fast 5K every week, and that was just a good indicator to see where I was at. But then when I started doing the longer distance, I didn't care about saving my legs for doing a fast 5K. If I needed to do a long run on the Friday, I'd go and do a long run on the Friday. I'd still run park run, but I wouldn't worry about trying to do it too fast. So I think, building those foundations on that 5K has definitely helped me in this longer stuff. So when I'm running a quick lap at 5:45, that 5:45 pace might be very quick for someone, but for me who can do 5Ks in 17 minutes, that's a relatively slow pace. So
Sorry, me and Ollie are really big on like reflection about like reflecting on what we've done to improve ourselves moving forward. What's something that like 5 years ago that you believed about your running that now you're like, there's no way I'd do that again?
yeah, so 5 years ago, I didn't really have any focus on nutrition. Uh, I would do my long runs and kind of be proud of the fact that I can, go run for 4 hours without needing to eat anything. And then, yeah, since working with Gabby at Intense Eat Fit, I've just realized how important that nutrition is. And yes, I might be able to run 50 Ks without eating anything, but am I going to be running at my best? Is it going to be better for my recovery afterwards and all of this sort of stuff? So nutrition has definitely taken a more central role. Whereas before I was just like, yeah, I'll just eat when I'm hungry. I'll eat whatever. Like my very first backyard, I took a whole bunch of food, but I had no plan of when I was going to eat what. It was just like, well, if I'm hungry, I'll eat it kind of thing.
So at the end of a backyard ultra, or even at the start, you wonder, or when you're hurting, you wonder why you're actually doing it again. And it's a given that we suffer. And I wonder, what is it that you're actually trying to chase? Because every time it's why am I doing this again? I said to myself, I'm never going to do one again, but here you are doing it. So what is it that you're actually chasing?
Like in the event, I'm not chasing anything. I'm just focusing on that lap. Like people go into these events and they have these big goals, or they, might be eyeing off a world record or whatever it is. I don't think that far ahead, and I'm never there chasing it. All I'm focusing on is doing that next lap or getting through that next night. And I just look at it as a game of patience. Like you just keep doing lap after lap after lap, and eventually you stay in the game long enough, those records and those PBs, they will come to you.
I know that you're an open book when it comes to advice and things
Yeah.
like that. Like, I mean, you've shared so many pearls of wisdom today that people
Yeah.
can take away. But what's one thing that's the most important when someone asks you, what can I do for my running, Phil?
Well, I think just focus on the foundations, focus on that consistency, like we talked about before, and don't try to do too much too soon. So yeah, you might be really inspired by these people running backyards and want to go and, you know, run these big distances, but focus on the foundations first. Like go out for a 5K run, sign up to your local park run and, start doing that every week. And if you build it, you want to build it in a sustainable way. You don't want to burn yourself out. You don't want to be out there on your long runs thinking, why am I doing this? Like, this is stupid. This is a long way. Like you want to build those foundations. So like, yes, I get those thoughts in the backyard. Like, why am I doing this? This is, this is ridiculous. Like this is a long way, but I've got I've built up to that stage. So I can look back at the other events that I've done and yeah, I can kind of, know that when I finish this event, I'm going to get that really good feeling of finishing it. And, yeah, so yeah, I guess, yeah, foundations and consistency.
That's awesome. I just wanted to ask how your ideas around maybe not so much failure because you haven't failed too much, but specifically around success and beyond the sport. So this might look like just in your everyday life and how you might view success.
I think running is a very good metaphor for life, and it's like you only get out what you put in. So you need to put in the work if you're going to get somewhere. And I think of it like if ever I start something new and I suck at it, I just think back to when I first started running. Like I started running in high school and I was a back of the pack runner, but I stuck with it and look where I am today. So yeah, even if you start something, you need to give it time and focus on building. Don't just give up because you try it and you suck at it. So, and I think that can be relevant to anything in life. And yeah, I think even just to like the backyard is a great metaphor as well of just taking it one lap at a time. So when you're having a tough time in life or whatever, it might just be you're taking it one day at a time or 1 week at a time. If you got a challenge at work or you've got a big to-do list or something like that, you just take it one thing at a time. So there's a lot of lessons from running that can be transferred to everyday life.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
deep as well.
Yeah, that's it. That's super deep. Yeah. I don't know what to say to that. Yeah, that was a side of Phil we haven't seen. No, that's pretty cool, Phil. All right. So we got some cool listener questions. We've kind of dragged you over the coals with a lot of deep questions, but these ones are a little bit easier. But so I know we mentioned recovery post race and things like that, and you obviously do it a little bit differently to most people. But for the general person, like the question was, what does recovery after a race look like for Phil? But I guess we kind of covered that. But what do you think most people should do when they're recovering from any effort that they've done, whether it be a hard 5K, 10K race, or anything like that?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing is sleep. Like focus on sleep. It's often overlooked because it's not really marketed. You can get all these supplements and recovery boots and foam rollers and all of this stuff that can be sold to you, but yeah, sleep is, you can't package it up and put it in a pill. It's like you just have to do it. So that's I think the biggest thing. And like when I do my long runs in training, and as I said before, I might be getting up at 3 in the morning. Make sure you get that nap in the afternoon if you can, if time permits and all that. And when you're recovering from a big event, like after a backyard for me, like I'll focus on sleep. I won't be getting up early to do any runs. I won't set my alarm unless I need to for work. But I'll be sleeping in as long as I can, like waking up naturally. If I need to have an afternoon nap, I will. I'm going to bed early. You just got to focus on those basics.
The next question here, and you can mention carb loading, but it's what do you eat the day before and the morning of a backyard ultra?
I just stick to normal foods that I normally eat. I don't try anything special. Every morning, before I go for my run, I have a bowl of oats with chia, and that does not change on race day. I still have my bowl of oats with chia. So kind of the days leading up, yes, I carb load, but I don't kind of, it's I how do I word this? It is a focus, but it's not like I don't force myself to eat if it's to try and get too much in or to try and hit certain targets for my carb loading. I will eat a little bit more, but if I'm full, I will stop eating. I won't force myself because that can then sometimes have the opposite effect, and I wake up the next day feeling like shit because I've tried to eat too much.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I've forced it in the past, and I've actually not felt that great because I'm thinking I need to get all these carbs in, but I actually physically can't.
I find liquid carbs are easier as well. So like Maximus or Powerade, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just an easy way to get those carbs in throughout the day.
Yeah. So our next list of question, I love this one because I used to hallucinate a lot.
Yeah.
But since I fixed my nutrition, that's kind of gone out the window because now I don't hallucinate nowhere near as much.
Yeah.
So I don't get as many cool stories. But have you had any hallucinations that have kind of just blown you away?
Yeah, people always ask this question. They always want to know if you get hallucinations. I think with the backyard, because I am getting that sleep, I am able to get that nutrition during the breaks. It's a relatively slow pace, so I'm not pushing my body to its limit. I'm not getting those hallucinations. I have had points where I've been confused, as we talked about before at Bigs, and I was like, why am I running this? Like, what's the point? What's the purpose? I have had times like that where I've been confused as what's going on. But as far as like visual hallucinations and stuff, I don't really have an issue with those.
You've had auditory ones.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I have heard things and like I'll hear songs and it's like it's different to like having a song in your head, but you're like looking around, it's like, where are those speakers? And you're out in the middle of the bush. There's no speakers anywhere. And
Is it these boots are made for walking? Is that one of them?
you hear that song, but yeah, you might just have a song and it just like playing on repeat. Or like sometimes it just might sound like there's chatter, like there's people talking, like you're at a busy cafe, and you're like looking around. It's like, where is this coming from? And you're just out in the middle of nowhere.
I often get those kind of the auditory ones as well. They actually creep you out a little bit, especially when you're in, like if it's a race where it's out in the wilderness somewhere and you've kind of freaked.
And no one's out here except for you. Last question. I think it's been a very good effort from Phil. His voice to be very sore. So this one is from day to day. What does your nutrition look like? What foods do you generally eat? Do you have any specific nutrition you like to eat before training runs?
With my nutrition, I don't have a super strict diet or anything. Like the biggest thing for me is sustainability. Like I don't want to have a diet that it's going to be too hard to follow. I do try to eat the right things. You know, try to make sure like at dinner I'm getting my protein, my carbs, and my veggies. Trying to tick those boxes. But yes, I will also go out and have a Whopper from Hungry Jack's or whatever. And yeah, so I do. I try to be again consistency. I try to be consistent with the type of stuff that I eat. When I'm during training, I'm using foods that I'm going to be planning on using in the race. So my guts train for that, and I know that food's going to be okay when I'm in the race. But yeah, I try to keep it simple. I don't want to overcomplicate it, and I don't want to try. Yeah, I don't really stick to any strict regime or any specific foods I have to have every single day.
Yeah, I think our listeners will be happy to hear that you ate a Whopper. So,
well, if there was a specific food that you do like to eat before run, because I noticed that you do eat before you run. Like we weren't eating this morning before park run, but is there something that you would like to eat?
Yes, I mentioned that before, the oats. So every morning before my run, I'll have oats. And then when I get back from my run, I'll normally have a second breakfast as well. Maybe just something like toast or cereal or something simple.
do you feel like that almost has an added effect as well, that it kind of trains your guts to have something in there as soon as you start a run? Because I mean, for backyard ultras, it's very tricky at times to eat something and then obviously go out. But you're obviously doing that first thing in the morning before you run, and things are bouncing around straight away.
Yeah, so the oats, it's not like too heavy. Like it's easy to eat that and then go for a run. A lot of the times as well. So I run to and from work every day, and when I'm on a night shift, I'm starting at 6. I'll eat dinner at home at around 5 o'clock, and then I'll run to work. And those runs have been a bit tough before. Like I've had like a really heavy meal, and then it's like I run to work and I'm feeling like really sluggish. But when I'm feeling sluggish, I'm like, well, this is good training. This is good training for running with food in my gut and, trying to digest it and all that. So I always kind of look at the positive side of things.
Yeah. So what do you reckon we bring this one across the finish line, Ol?
I forgot about that, but yeah, let's bring it across the finish line.
Yeah. So as you know, at the end of every episode, me and Ollie set each other a challenge and our viewers a challenge. So I guess we put a twist on things. We'd like you to set our Better by Next Week challenges for the week. If you have one each for us and our viewers, that'd be awesome, and then they can pick which one they like the best.
Well, I only had one planned.
No, that's all right.
So I'm just going to give you one, and it's for both of you. And we already talked about it in this episode about the cold showers. So that's something that I do in my training.
I did not want to do that.
So
No, this is the worst one that you can give us.
you wake up this morning and we went for the run and it was freezing cold. So this is going to help with that cold adaptation.
I could not think of anything worse right now.
And it's going to help with that mental side of things as well. So it'll make you a better runner.
I actually think it's good, but
yeah.
Okay, so for one week of cold showers.
1 week of cold showers. And if it's, I will say, like, and this is for the listeners.
Have you seen how cold it is here? Do you know the pipes are going to be frozen when we're going to have these showers? It's going to be ice
go for your run first, and then But yeah, like for you guys and for the listeners as well, you might find it easier having your normal warm shower and then just start the last 30 seconds, turn it to cold, and then gradually change that increment. So by the end of it, you're having cold shower from start to finish.
That'll build your mental up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Phil. We really appreciate your time. It's been an awesome podcast, and thanks for making the time. Thanks for traveling over, and thanks a lot for being our first guest in the greenhouse. So thanks heaps.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, we'd do a fist bump, but we're too far away.